Does God exist? Now, is it logical to believe such a being exists? So let's reason it out right here on this episode of Justified by Score. When I say God, I mean the uncreated creator, the first cause uncaused, all-powerful, all-knowing, existing outside of time, space, and matter, a personal being. Now, is it logical to believe such a being exists? When I pose this question, I'm not talking about the God of the Bible, the Quran, a Jehovah's Witness, or even Mormons. I want to answer the question in its rudimentary form. Is it even logical to believe that a God exists? What do I mean when I say God? Again, I mean the first cause uncaused, eternal by nature, not caused or has not come into existence, has always existed, omniscient, all-knowing, intelligent. A God would have to be intelligent to design. Omnipresent, not constrained by space, would have to exist outside of space in order to cause space to come into existence. Omnipotent, all-powerful. They would have to have the ability to create or bring into existence everything and at the same time create order. Personal, in order to decide to create. That is what I mean when I say God. So that is what we will attempt to reason out today and find out, is it even logical to believe such a being exists? Even the renowned atheists of our time, or as some would prefer, anti-theists, because they are absolutely against the idea of God, even they would say that nearly all scientists now believe, as all of the evidence point towards this, that the universe had a beginning. Most scientists have concluded that the universe began to exist. And for the sake of this video and purpose, I won't go into all of the details, but scientists like Vilenkin about 20 years ago pointed out that the fact that the universe is expanding naturally concludes that it had a single point where it started. The universe could not be eternal in the past because of the law of entropy. The amount of usable energy is running down, and the amount of unusable energy is running up, which means it will run out of energy. And if time was eternal in the past, energy definitely would have run down by now.
One day we're going to go to heat death, and everybody knows that. And so all scientists know this now, that the universe had to have a beginning, because if we're in a closed system, there's only so much energy in there. If the universe was eternal, we'd have run out of energy a long time ago. It'd be like if you had been driving your car from all eternity, it wouldn't have any gas right now.
Because the universe could not exist infinitely in the past, it had to have a beginning or starting point. Time, space, and matter had to come existence at the same time. If you had space but no time, when would it be? If you had matter but no space, where would it be? Since time, space, and matter could not have existed infinitely in the past, it had to come into existence at the same time.
That the general theory of relativity says space, time, and matter are correlative, that they came into existence together. You can't unravel them.
If those premises are true, we then look to the Kalam cosmological argument on how to address this. The Kalam cosmological argument states that 1, anything that began to exist has a cause. The universe began to exist, therefore it has a cause. From here, we only have 2 options. And no, for those who state that this will be a false dichotomy, I beg, please show me another option. And keep in mind, space, matter, and time all had to come in at the same time and could not exist eternally in the past. There are only 2 options, and the 2 options are either that the universe created itself or something created the universe. The atheistic view is that everything came from nothing. The problem with that is that it's not scientific. In order for anything to be scientific, it has to be either reproducible, you have to be able to do it again, or historical, someone has to witness it. The hypothesis that the universe popped into existence on its own, out of nothing, is neither reproducible nor historical. There is no one there to witness it. Also, an extreme example would be that no one is afraid out of nowhere a stampede of elephants will randomly appear and run through your room. That's not a reasonable fear. Things don't just randomly, accidentally pop into existence. And to quote the philosopher Parmenides, out of nothing comes nothing.
Okay, nothing is unstable. What do you mean that nothing is unstable? Nothingness is nothingness.
Well, the physics has changed what we mean by nothing. In fact, nothing is a empty space, is a boiling, bubbling brew of virtual particles popping in and out of existence.
Oh, wait,
so
wait, no,
fast,
that's not nothing. That's something. Why
can't count them.
Why
You
are
can't
those
see them.
virtual particles there?
Because of the laws of quantum mechanics. And they tell us that even though you can try and count and see what's in there in empty space, you'll see nothing. But in fact, one of the biggest mysteries, and the reason I wrote the book, one of the greatest discoveries of the last 50 years is that, in fact, empty space weighs something.
Empty space weighs something.
In fact, it's the dominant stuff in the universe. Nothing
So I
is almost everything.
am never going to lose those last 5 pounds.
I don't even use the word believe. The point is
There is no God.
There's no need for God.
Is
to
there
make the universe-
God? Is there God?
It's
What would you
unlikely.
say?
There's no evidence for God.
Okay,
There's
so,
no evidence for
so
God.
let me ask something. If there is no God, okay, if there is no thing called God, if he is nothing, can't something come from him?
The age-old atheistic phrase, just give me more time and we will figure out how the universe created itself. If they believe that, I say, I don't have enough faith to be an atheist. That's a whole lot of unmerited faith. That's like saying, give me enough time and I will be able to tell you how I fathered my father. Doesn't make sense, does it? How can I create something when I don't even exist? Some atheists will attempt to redefine what nothing is and call it a cosmic vacuum. Well, that's still something. Hawking says that because there is a law like gravity, the universe can and will create itself out of nothing. What?
I don't even know what that means.
No one knows what it means, but it's provocative.
No, it's not. It's
Gets
gross.
the people going.
It's
No,
disgusting.
that's enough!
This statement is ridiculous and illogical. John Lennox, he said, irrational statements made by geniuses, still irrational.
It's pretty clear that Hawking, brilliant as he was as a mathematical physicist, really is a classic exemplar of what Albert Einstein once said, the scientist is a poor philosopher.
First, who created the law of gravity? Laws still require a lawgiver. Second, if there was nothing, not only did gravity not exist, it also had nothing to have an effect on. And third, laws don't create anything. They just explain the order. If something did come from nothing, it would contradict common laws. That things go from order to disorder, not the other way around. Things in nature do not run to order, they run to disorder. If you leave a city unoccupied and come back 100 years later, it is out of order, potentially uninhabitable. You never leave a bare land for 100 years and come back to find, buildings, nice. Nature tends to run to disorder. In my opinion, the evidence conclusively goes against the universe creating itself. And that would leave us with only the second possibility, that someone created the universe. And summed up by the Kalam cosmological argument, anything that begins to exist has a cause. If that is the case, the cause would have to exist eternally outside of time, space, and matter, be all-knowing, intelligent to create, and personal to decide to create. And when I say God, that is exactly what I mean. So, I will let you decide what is more rational, that the universe created itself out of nothing, even when it didn't exist, or Did something cause the universe to come into existence? We have barely scratched the surface in this conversation of, does God exist? Today, we simply given a logical explanation for the beginning of the universe, or why something rather than nothing. And I do believe it is reasonable, simply by the evidence provided here, that it is reasonable to believe that a God exists. This will most likely be a 4 or 5 part series. In the next episode, we'll dive more into the cosmological arguments for the existence of God. And yes, I know, and I hear you saying it in the comments, the Kalam cosmological argument does not give evidence for God. That's not what I'm saying. But it does give rationale and a solid stance to believe that something created rather than nothing created. This has been another episode of Justified by Score. I hope you appreciated it. I look forward to seeing you guys, even if you disagree with me, in the comments. Tell me where I'm wrong. I always want to hear opposing views, because if you're right and I'm wrong, I want to change my views, change my mind. Peace.